Okay, welcome to lesson 13 for Module 4 and Algebra 1. We are solving for quadratic equations by completing the square. Our opening exercise. It says solve the equation for b, which is 2b squared minus 9b equals 3b squared minus 4b minus 14. First thing first, we have to get everything to the right side to make it 0 to the zero product property. So I'm going to subtract my 2b squared over here. These cross out, make a 0b squared. Now you have negative 9b equals b squared minus 4b minus 14. Then I'm going to add my 9b to each side. This gives you a 0, which is b squared plus 5b minus 14. Now we are completing the square. And completing the square means you're finding the factors of c to add to b. So I have to find the two numbers when multiplied give you negative 14, but at the same time when added together give you the 5. So I'm going to do a little table right here, put negative 14. I have negative 1, 14, that gives you 13. Negative 2, 7 gives you 5. 1, negative 14 gives you negative 13. And you got 2, negative 7 gives you negative 5. But if you see our 5 is a positive, so that means we're going to use our second one. So it's going to be b plus 7, b minus 2. But then our final solution is going to be b is equal to negative 7 or b is equal to 2. That would be your final solution. Example B. It says rewrite the expression by completing the square of half of b squared. So you have half of b squared minus 4b plus 13. So we are completing the square and it's already set to 0. So we don't have to move anything over. It's done for us. So first thing first, I'm going to take out my 1/2, put a bracket, put b squared. Negative 4 is becoming negative 8 because 4 times 2 is what? Negative 8. B, you can leave a blank right here because you have to figure out what your C is. Put plus 13 outside the bracket. So you have 1/2 equals negative 4 squared. Negative 4 squared gives you 16. But you're not going to put the 16 here. You can put negative 4 squared. And on the other side, you're going to put the same thing, minus 1/2. You got to do the opposite of what's in here to cross this side out. Minus a negative 4 squared. Now you have 1/2. And when you factor this out, this gives you b minus 4 squared. So this would be b minus 4, b minus 4, plus 13 minus, so if negative 4 squared is 16, so half of 16 is 8. So you have your 13, and two negatives make a positive. And this is positive 16 because negative 4 squared makes a positive 16. So 13 take away 8 gives you 5. So you're going to have now half of b minus 4 squared plus 5, and there's your final solution. Example 1. You have solved for x. That means you're completing the square when you solve for x. So you have 12 equals x squared plus 6x. In order to find out what c is, I'm going to do b over 2. b is what? 6. So that gives you 6 over 2, which equals 3 squared. 3 squared is 9. So I'm going to add plus 9 on this side. I'm going to do the same thing on the left side. 9 plus 12 is 21, which equals x squared plus 6x plus 9. And now we're going to take the square root of each side. But first thing first, let's factor it out. So you're going to keep your 21 right here, and you have x plus 3 squared, because 3 times 3 is what? 9. 3 plus 3 gives you 6. So when you have your square root, it would be plus 3 squared. And don't forget your plus or minus right here. So you have plus or minus 21 equals x plus 3. Now you're going to subtract 3 to each side, which gives you plus or minus square root of 21 minus 3 equals x. Or you could write it like this. X equals negative 3 minus square root of 21. Or you have to make sure you write that word or. It's not and. X equals negative 3 plus square root of 21. And that's your final solution. You can do it this way or write it like this. Both ways are correct. Example 2. It says solve for x. We have 4x squared minus 40x plus 94 equals 0. This is already set up to 0, so there's no way to factor it out, so we must complete the square. If I notice, they're all even numbers, so I'm going to factor out a 2. So I will have 2x squared minus 20x, and half of 94 is 47, plus 47, parentheses, equals 0. Now, in order for me to complete the square, I'm going to have to figure out what to factor out. I'm going to have 4 bracket x squared minus 10x plus, this is blank, a bracket, plus a 94. So our b is negative 10. So if our formula is b over 2, so you have negative 10 over 2 gives you 5 squared. And 5 squared is equal to 25. But you're not putting a 25 here. You're putting plus 5 squared. Minus the 4. Let me erase this right here so you guys can see it. Minus 4 parentheses 5 squared. What you do right here, you have to do on this side to cross each other out. Now you have 4x minus 5 squared plus a 94. So 5 squared is 25 times 4 gives you a negative 100. Then you have 4x minus 5 squared minus 6 equals 0. You will add 6 to each side. This gives you 4x minus 5 squared equals 6. Since you have a 4 here, that means you're going to divide the 4 across. This gives you x minus 5 squared equals 6 over 4. But 6 over 4 can be reduced to what? 6 over 2. Then now you're going to do your square root of each side. And of course, it's going to be plus or minus. So you have x minus 5 equals plus or minus the square root of 6 over 2. You add 5 to each side. So x is equal to 5 plus or minus 6 over 2. And that is your final solution. Exercises. We said solve these equations by completing the square. So we're going to have x squared minus 2x equals 12. In order for us to complete the square, we're going to do our b over 2. Our b is what? Negative 2. So it'd be negative 2 over 2, which equals negative 1. But negative 1 squared gives you a 1. So we're going to write x squared minus 2x plus 1 equals 12 plus 1. Then we're going to factor it out. You have x minus 1 squared equals 13. And when you factor it out, it'd be x minus 1, which gives you the same solution as this. Now you're going to do the square root of each side. So you have x minus 1 parentheses squared equals plus or minus the square root of 13. So you have x minus 1 equals plus or minus the square root of 13. You add 1 to each side, so it gives you x equals plus 1 plus or minus the square root of 13. And that's your final answer.